Don't let desperation lead you to sin. Hey everybody, this is Pastor Justin Walker with The Whole Truth. We're going through the entire Bible from Genesis all the way to Revelation, and we're not skipping anything. So I want you to grab a Bible and turn it to Genesis chapter 19. And then after you do that, you can help me out by pressing the subscribe button down at the bottom. Subscribe to the channel, follow the page, share the videos. It helps them to go further because we want to get as many people into God's Word as possible this year. And today's message is pretty important. We're dealing with this guy named Lot. Lot was in a city called Sodom. You probably know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. God had went to Lot, warned Lot that he was going to destroy the city because of the wickedness in the city. And he had told this to Abraham. He went in to visit with Lot, and it was two angels that went to visit with Lot. And the men of the city had surrounded Lot's house. They were going to rape the two angels. Well, Lot tried to block them. He tried to give him his two daughters who were virgins. The men were going to now rape Lot. The angels pulled him in the house. They saved him. They told him to get any family and get out of the city. None of the family of Lot would listen. And Lot was kind of procrastinating. The angels grabbed Lot by the arm, drug him out of the city and said, "Go, you've got to leave. Go to the mountain, flee. We're going to destroy the city." And Lot said, "Please let me go down to Zoar." It was a city. He said, "It's a small city. Let me go down to Zoar. Don't make me go into the mountain. Let me go down to Zoar." The angel said, "Okay, we'll show you kindness in this as well. Go down to the city, but go quickly, because once you get there, we are going to destroy this city." Well, Lot goes down to Zoar with his wife. So Lot, his wife, his two daughters, 4 people go down into Zoar. Lot's wife turned back, and she was looking with like a longing heart. She was looking as if she missed her city, as if she was upset. She was looking that direction, and God turned her to a pillar of salt. She was destroyed with the city. And so it was Lot, his wife, his 2 daughters, and now it was Lot and his 2 daughters. There's now 3. Lot has lost absolutely everything, and he goes down into the city called Zoar. It's verse 30, chapter 19 and verse 30. Look at this. "Then Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains with his 2 daughters, and his 2 daughters were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his 2 daughters dwelt in a cave." God had told him to go to the mountain. He begged to go down into Zoar. The angels led him, but when he got down in Zoar, what did he find? The people of Zoar seemed like they're upset with him. Lot was a judge in Sodom. He was sitting at the city gate when he found the angels, or when the angels were in the city. Lot was the Bible tells us later that Lot was a righteous man, but Lot was living a compromised life. He was living in Sin City, if you will. And he was a judge in Sin City. And what happened was his family didn't believe him when he tried to tell them that God was going to judge the city. They wouldn't leave. His wife ended up looking back, and so she turned into a pillar of salt. Lot has lost everything. And not only has Lot lost everything, but his daughters have lost everything. They've lost their sisters. They've lost their brother-in-laws. They've lost their mom. They've lost their possessions, the servants that lived in the house, the housing itself. They've lost everything. They have nothing left. And now the people in Zoar are upset with them. Lot and his daughters are afraid to stay there. They're afraid the people of Zoar are probably going to kill them or run them out or something. So they leave and they go to the mountain, and they're dwelling in a cave. That's a pretty desperate situation. Well, let's look at what happens. It gets really weird right here. In chapter 19 verse 31, "Now the firstborn said to the younger, 'Our father is old, and there is no man on earth to come in to us, as is the custom of the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father.' And so they made their father drink wine that night. The firstborn went in to lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down and when she arose. And it happened the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, 'Indeed, I lay with my father last night, and let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father.' And then they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose." In verse 36, "Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father." Ooh, got weird and gross all in the same story. Lot loses everything, has to go up to Zoar, living in a cave. This is not what he wants to do. This is an awful situation for them to be in. And Lot's daughters knew this was wrong. They came up with an idea. No men are ever going to want to be with us. Nobody's ever going to want us as wives. Everybody hates us. All the people in Zoar hate us. All their brother-in-laws, the custom of the day was that they should marry their brother-in-laws because their sisters had died, but their brother-in-laws died. And so they couldn't marry their brother-in-laws. Who would ever marry these two girls? That's their perception. And they're looking around, they're in a cave. They live with their dad in a cave. They've lost everything. The situation surely looks desperate. I feel for them in that matter. Then you might look and say, not only that, but is wanting to have a child wrong? No, wanting to have a child is not wrong. Wanting to preserve the lineage of your family, is that wrong? No, there's nothing wrong with that. Incest, however, is wrong. And they knew that committing incest with their dad was wrong. They also knew that their dad was a righteous man and he would never go for it. He would never do it. So what did they do? They convinced him to drink. I told you before, there's a whole video called that's titled that no good comes from drinking, when Noah got drunk. And so they convinced their dad to get drunk. And what happens when they convince him to get drunk? First of all, why'd they convince him to get drunk? Because they knew he wouldn't go for it. They knew he would say, no way. They knew he would say, that's wrong and that's sinful. Later in the Bible, that will expressly be told. We will be expressly told that that is sinful. Fathers and daughters should not lie together, and not to mention it's gross. And so there's a moment here where the daughters want to do something. They want to fix this. They're looking at their desperate situation. They want to fix it, but the conclusion that they come to is a sinful conclusion. Let's commit incest with our dad to fix this problem so that we might have children and we might preserve his line. So how are they going to do that? They know he won't go for it, so they get him drunk. Will you listen to this? You do not have the right to sin because your situation is desperate. Do you catch that? I'm going to make that my catchphrase. Do you catch that? I say it too much. But did you? Are there other times in the Bible that people want to have children? Think about Samuel's mom. Remember, before Samuel's mother, she wanted to have a child. She was at the tabernacle. She was there where they would worship, the place of worship, and she was kneeling and praying to God and begging God, please let her have a child. And God did. He granted her that. That these two daughters of Lot, they could have called out to God. They could have called to the God of their father Lot, but instead they took matters into their own hands and they got him drunk and they slept with their own dad and they got pregnant by their dad. That was sinful. So I'm going to use a modern day example. Right now we're dealing with COVID-19. We're dealing with the coronavirus. I'm not trying to make a political stance about coronavirus. I'm not trying to make a moral stance about coronavirus or whether or not right now in March 2020, I don't know when you're watching this, but in March 2020, that this virus is running rampant. People are scared, and governors and leaders in our country are having businesses shut down. Restaurants, I just heard this morning that the restaurants and the bars are all going to have to be shut down, that they can only be carry-out only and drive-thrus only, but you can't have any people in the restaurant until further notice. And they're asking for gatherings to be shut down. All these things are getting shut down. And I'm telling you, as a business owner in the community, I'm a little concerned because I still have rent to pay. And there's no unemployment for me. There's no, my employees might be able to get unemployment, but I won't be able to. So I'm concerned. What does this end up looking like for my business that's here in the community? What does this do for my personal finances? Does that give me a right to cheat my employees? Can I shave their hours on their payroll? Does my desperation, does it make it okay to sin? Does it? Does my desperation, does that mean I get to cheat my taxes? Should I fudge the numbers on my taxes so that I can get a lower rate? Should I not pay my rent? Should I not pay what I owe to my landlord? Should I take that away from him? See, none of those are okay. My desperation shouldn't lead to sin. So what's my option? I should trust the Lord that he is good and he will take care of us. He's brought us this far. He has a plan for us. The daughters of Lot were forgetting the fact that God had rescued them out of Sodom. Instead, they looked at their current situation, forgetting what God had already done, only looking at their current situation in the cave, and they felt desperate, so they sinned. Well, where did that lead them? In verse 37, the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. The younger, she also bore a son called his name Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the people of Ammon to this day. Moabites, Ammonites. Now Lot has two children / grandchildren in the same persons. He has Moab he becomes the father of the Moabites, and he has Ben-Ammi. He's the father of the Ammonites. Two enemies of Israel. Abraham, that's the uncle. Remember where this whole thing started? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Abraham, he's going to have a son named Isaac, who's going to have a son named Jacob, who's going to have the 12 sons of Israel. And Israel will have enemies. You know who those enemies will be? Lot's descendants, the Moabites and the Ammonites, who started from incest with Lot. What a travesty that we end the story of Lot. This is the last time we're going to hear about Lot. We end the story of Lot with him having grandsons/sons who end up being enemies of Israel. Sinning out of desperation will not end in blessing. That is not the way it will work. Do not sin out of desperation, but use your time of desperation to call upon the Lord. He is good, and he will hear you. So that's my encouragement for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow with Genesis chapter 20.